There you go. We are live. We'll start
Live and in effect with Sergeant Major retired
Sergeant
Love.
Major retired Jack Love. It's cool. Hey, so welcome everybody.
How does that feel, Sergeant Major?
Should we give these people a couple minutes to jump in here because we're zero right now, or do we just want to keep talking?
Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, we're trying to work through this, Jack, and try to we're not I like this as my hobby. I found a hobby now, like something that I want to do outside of being retired and stuff. So keeping tabs and keeping updated and connecting with everybody is why we do this thing too. So it's not for making any monetary gain. It's not for any kind of publicity, but it's just for us to jump on here and have guys that we haven't seen in a long time come on. I know Chris has got a long list of people in the other airborne unit that he served with, not the 82nd, but he's got some people he wants to come on. So yeah, I think it'll be a cool time. I mean, we can't do it we're not regular Doc for GWAT Goons is, but we do what we can. So
it's all good. And I'm honored just to get a chance to sit on here and just have a conversation, BS with you both a little bit, and so it's all good.
Just so we're straight for my own essay, and so that I don't step on anything, I'm going to refer to Jerry as Jerry because I have since he and I were battle buddies, and you will be Sergeant Major.
No, so I'm good. I'm good with Jack. Yeah, I'm good with Jack.
I know. I know you are, but it's still weird for me, right? And so I'll try to remember Jack, but the Sergeant Major will slip out, and it's more for Jerry. I love you like a brother, Jerry. You are my brother, but you're Jerry. So
that's fine with me. Fine with me. I still have a hard time calling Jack. It just feels weird,
Yep.
It's
all good, man.
Yeah.
I mean that. Here's the reality. It doesn't matter if you serve 20 years or 37. Everybody's going to take the uniform off. And when you take the uniform off, all you really have left is memories of the brotherhood, the sisterhood, and all those people you got to serve with, and all the great things you got to accomplish as a team. But when you retire, everybody's still in the same free cheese line. It's that was a period of time, and we're all honored to be able to have that. And I'd go back into New York second and do it in a heartbeat. But the reality is I don't wear a uniform anymore.
Yeah.
And, I'm Jack or Jackie. I answer to both. Because, people back home call me Jackie. And, but most people that I know, call me Jack. So don't all that small potatoes.
So, yeah.
All right, then, Jack, if I can I jump in first?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's get right to it then. What's it been like? I mean, you've been doing this for 37 years, and now, like you said, you're Jack. What's it like?
Yeah, it's different. I think the first thing that comes to mind is different. I don't, at least not yet, I don't have a purpose, and I think that's the one thing that any retiree needs is a purpose.
Yeah.
That could be, part-time work, full-time work, or something that you do repetitive on somewhat of a schedule. And so, that's been lacking, but it's actually been really nice. I came back from Korea the week before Thanksgiving, and I was on my, I had about 100 and something days of transition leave saved up. So I didn't do nothing in December. I went out to Texas. My middle child, my daughter, was having another grandbaby. So I got 4 granddaughters now. anyway,
Nice.
you know, and then January and February's pretty much just been here. We live down in a place in it's called Fairhope, Alabama. So you get to Orange Beach, you get to Perdido Bay in about a 40-minute drive, or you can get to Pensacola in about 40 minutes. So it's pretty nice area down here in the deep South. And the only thing I really do consistently is go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
I'm not working as hard as I used to, but I do go to the gym. I did 5 miles today, did it in about 42 minutes. So I was like, okay.
Nice.
You got the war. You said you're in your war room now?
Yeah. Well, when I left, Cindy gave me this one room. It's actually a really nice room. It's got a built-in refrigerator and a damn sink and microwave and all this shit over here. And so I was like, man, what am I going to call it? And, a lot of people call it, man caves. I'm like, that's too ordinary. So I made a sign in Korea. It's on the outside of this door right above it. It says the war room. And nice. It says 23 January 1989 to 1 March 2026. And it's got Department of the Army symbol or some shit. But this is my room.
Yeah.
And so Cindy knows that.
Yeah. I got to get one of those.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in my son's room. So.
Yeah. Well, now what you realize too, real quick is, I got shit from every corner of this wall all the way around. But I threw away probably a whole room full of stuff. And I hate to say that, but it was just so much stuff. I had about 700 coins. I kept all the coins. I bought this thing right in front of this computer that you just put them all in it. And, you kind of see them. But anyway, going back to your question, sir, about transition is, I think transition's different for everybody. I think, it's all what you make of it. And, the one of my, 15 secrets of leadership that I was down at University of Alabama a few weeks ago, and that's what I talked to those cadets about for a couple hours. And one of those 15 is attitude and how it's an absolute combat multiplier, maybe more so than anything, if it's positive, optimistic, and can do, And so I've tried to just be positive. I know God's got a plan, whatever that plan is, that's what it's going to be. And just trying to, spend a little bit more time with my wife. She's been with me for the whole 37 years, that I was in the Army. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do and whatnot, but
I'm in the same boat. I've got a pretty good job, but I'm still like,
yeah,
it's like I control my own destiny now. Like I can do kind of things that I want to do. Like, it's good or bad, right? You get lazy sometimes and, but it's not bad. It's hard to, transition. It's not an easy transition after being, you got a lot of time. I did 30 years and, seeing, you see stuff that's happening now with the guys 82nd, doing all this stuff. And you look back on it, man, just thinking about what they're doing or how they're doing, you have those moments, man. And I miss it, but I'm getting older. It's a young man's game now,
and here's the other thing too. And sir, I think I heard you say earlier, as we were just BSing some before going live, that you're coming up on a retirement here in the somewhat future.
Yep, about 1 year.
Yeah, and so I think the thing that everybody learns going through retirement, out of the military, is that nobody's a T. Nobody's trained in doing that. You're not even a P. Everybody needs practice. Yeah. And you hear things over your career, but you don't really pay attention until, you're in the door and it's now your time to exit and go through that process. So I learned a lot. I guess there's a lot to learn, not just with the VA and that whole process, but there's things to learn. I share this with as many people as I can in purchasing a house. If you want to use the VA loan, then you really need to close on that VA loan or close on that house before you get inside the 365 days prior to official retirement. And so I didn't know that. A good buddy of mine, Scott Berzac, I knew it a couple years out.
Bee sting.
Yeah, but Scott actually went through that. Him and Gina was going to buy a house in South Carolina, and he was under a year. VA wasn't really having none of it. So he, long story short, he extended to do another year. One, General Flynn was tickled pink to keep him on for another year, but two, it allowed him to close on his house. And so there's all that kind of stuff that you go, man, I didn't know that.
That's a great point. And that's where, conversations like this, and then, really trying to tap into like mentors, and people that have gone through this, before me. I know I'm personally doing that, tapping into some mentors of mine and trying to seek help in, how do I navigate this path that, like you said, it's, you do it once, right?
Yes,
at least from the military, you retire, you get one shot, and you either do it well or you don't do it well. But that's
once you do it, that round's fired. You can't go back and redo it. But no, for me it was really I'll just say sergeant majors, because that's the majority of the guys that retired before I did. The only thing I would always ask them to do is sprint through the finish line. I don't believe in the whole 6 months, 9 months, just go out there somewhere and take a knee. I think that's horse crap. I think you sprint through the finish line. Yes, there are some things you have to do, but really give your all to the formation. All of us are going to be okay. We got a decent little retirement check for the rest of our lives. Thanks to the government. At the worst case, we can go to the grocery store. And find some little place that keeps the rain out, keeps us dry. It's been it was smooth for me. I didn't worry too much about it. I was in Korea, so it wasn't like I could really job hunt. A lot of people don't realize transitioning overseas. It's a little tougher. But not impossible. I think a lot of people, when they retire from the military, I don't know what percentage, but a large percentage will retire close to their last duty station. And those that year or two or three, affords you the opportunity to, potentially have a job lined up, be it GS or something else. And, but you can't really do that, in Korea. You could, but Cindy Love was not staying in Korea, although we loved it.
West Point was good. I transitioned out of West Point, so it was easy because it was small. It's a small post, but it was still difficult because I didn't know the process and trying to figure it out even as a senior guy. So but West Point was great too. I mean, I didn't want to stay around there, obviously, but wanted to come south to some better weather. But it was good, man. I've been pretty fortunate to have a pretty smooth transition. I mean, I had a pretty, and it's like about all too. Like I had an old first sergeant that I worked with back in Red Falcons, and he linked up with me and got, I kind of, it's about who sometimes. And he got me this job I'm currently in now. And, and just transition. I have to worry about that. I transitioned out and trying to just find a place and doing all those kind of things. It was pretty easy. I know some guys have harder, but my path was pretty easy. And I still don't have any issues with the VA. You know, I'm down here in St. Pete, and there's a pretty good VA hospital down here. So I have no complaints on that end. I'm just, for me, it's just keeping self-motivated and, it's trying to stay self-disciplined is the hardest thing for me right now. But it's great. You're going to face it, Chris. You're going to see, you're going to like it though. You're going to do well. You'll be out there doing well. But
we'll see.
I guess talking since we're at the battalion, we were at the battalion level together, Jack. I think we could talk some stuff about that. You were the battalion command sergeant major, White Falcons. You obviously got me there as a first sergeant, which, I was listening to your podcast. I truly believe that was like the best battalion at the time. So just a shout out to the White Falcons. I actually worked with some White Falcon guys last week, but it was like we could. I mean, what are some of the struggles that you faced at the battalion, command team level? Like we can tell you kind of what we're facing at the 10th Mountain Division. Like what were some of the challenges that you saw?
Yeah, I tried to never look at them as challenges.
Yeah.
Everything was an opportunity. Now, how you shape that opportunity. At the end of the day, as you well know, all we do is advise, right? I mean, there's only one commander, and then when I was in the White Falcons, it was Dave Doyle, and I made sure that people knew that. My job was I was unemotional to whatever decision he made. When he made it, regardless of my personal thoughts, he knew I was going to walk out of that room as if it was my own dumbass decision or great decision.
Yeah.
But you have to own it. I think everybody faces some types of challenges, certainly in combat, when you lose someone that you love deeply, and I remember in Operation New Dawn, we lost one soldier. It was David Hickman. God bless him and his family. And you were a part of that patrol.
Yeah.
And so those type of, that's pain you don't never forget. It's just, is what it is. But there's all types of opportunities and stuff that, I think, what I tried to do as a battalion sergeant major, matter of fact, it might even have been you, Jerry. I don't know. But, I had been a first sergeant for right at 5 years there in the 82nd, and a little over 2 years in the White Falcons, and another couple of years up at HAC Brigade. And so I was had done that job for a while. And things happen in a company battery troop. They just do. And so when I, became the battalion sergeant major, I couldn't expect all the first sergeants to do things the way I did it. I had a pretty iron fist as a first sergeant.
Oh yeah. I remember. I remember when I think you did. I think it was funny because I think there was a national championship game going on. I think Alabama lost or something. I can't remember, LSU, whatever. But I think we had a meeting.
We didn't lose to LSU in no national championship game.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I remember. I think you had a meeting or something right after, and we all got together. And we're like, man, how do we go into the office? He's probably gonna be pissed or whatever. It's just. It was like, that's what we talked about. We're like, holy shit, but it's just fun times.
I think the challenge for any battalion command team, commander, command sergeant major, is, you're going to come in either together or there's a few month gap, but you're going to come in. And the boss has all these, ideas and he or she wants to take the formation to wherever they want to take it. And that's great. You get behind that. You certainly want to build teams that focus on excelling, right? Don't just be happy with meeting the standard. But I think the thing that I didn't necessarily learn doing the battalion job is you're going to hit that 1 year point and you really need to reassess, because you're going to feel like things are going great. Like, man, you're doing all this stuff great, but what are the blind spots? Well, what are the things that you haven't really had a chance to improve or tackle? I don't think I figured that out till I was Division Sergeant Major, to be quite honest. Because you're in a knife fight, you're just running. You got the 6 week calendar stuff that's always right here, and then you got the day-to-day fires, constantly dealing with personnel, schools, just a myriad of things. And but
did you link up with Colonel Doyle prior to the command? Did you guys? I know me and Chris, we got together at dinner one time. Like we didn't know each other, and we just linked up with each other, and we started talking about like, kind of what we want to do, or like, what's the way ahead, what's the vision or whatever. And I don't think any of it came out the right way, but it was good that we got together. Yeah. I mean,
I didn't, Jerry. I was in the Red Falcons. I was the Ops Sergeant Major for Colonel Mazaraki. And this was CSL didn't exist yet for Sergeant Majors. Mm-hmm. This was pre-CSL. I'm Ops Sergeant Major in the Red Falcons. I actually had Colonel Hines for about a year, and then Colonel Mazaraki for the second year. I had to come out on the CSM list or whatever, and I think it was Capel, Sergeant Major Capel, called me up to his office, and he's like, "Hey, you're going to go to I think it was 2504 White Devils." He said, "But your brigade commander wants to keep you in the White Falcons." I'm like, "Sergeant Major, I don't care. I just want to be a Sergeant Major." And so they made it work, and I went from Red Falcons to White Falcons. But Colonel Doyle had been over there with Sergeant Major Foro for a good 6 months or so. Yeah. And so the battalion, the staff, they were moving. And as a matter of fact, I did my change of responsibility doing platoon live fires. Mm. We just brought everybody in full kit in an open field, passed the colors, and went back to shooting.
Yeah, I remember when I got picked up for EA. I think you came over and pulled me over I was so happy to go over there. Like I just wanted to go back to, it was challenging because I was like, man, it's the challenges of being a first sergeant, especially under Command Sergeant Major Love, was like, man, it was like some bugs in my stomach, but like we had a great team over there and it just all worked out. But because I was a platoon, I got picked up at E8 as E8 in the Red Falcons. I think you were the Ops Sergeant Major, and you came and talked to me about it, and you were going over and you're selecting your crew, which was a good crew. But
and you got to build your team now.
Yeah, you got to build your team.
Yeah. People with the right work ethic. They're going to try hard. Mistake will never be intentional. But what I was getting to earlier, Sir Jerry, is that the thing I tried to do as a battalion sergeant major is never overreact. Mm. And, it's something as simple as, and I think it was you, Jerry, you're relatively new, Bravo company, I think. You've been a first sergeant a short period of time, and there was a DUI in the company. Yeah. And I remember you coming to me, and I could just tell that, because it's personal. You feel like, man, how did I allow this? Well, you didn't allow nothing. It happens. That's a reality. Is bad things are going to happen, and how you react to those, I think people remember. It's not the end of the world. Nobody's shooting at us. Let's figure out what we can do to learn from it. How can we, hopefully prevent it? But there's no guarantees. I mean, people are going to do what people are going to do. All you can do is coach them, and so I try to never overreact. Although I probably have overreacted some.
No, I think it's like I was just young, man, and I know me and Chris like had this. Is no one ever wants to have anything bad in your formation, right? Like it just, especially when you work with some good leaders, you don't want that, I was so young and I was like, it's going to look negative on the formation, but like, there's things that I realize today, you can't control it. They're going to do something. They're going to do something. Right. But
yeah, everybody's going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I promise you that. Nobody does anything on their own. That's, like, man, look at what he did. Now, I tell a story oftentimes. I'll never forget this. I had been in the Alpha Company, first sergeant, for about 2 years. I did not want to leave that company. I'm just telling you straight up. I could have stayed in Alpha Company forever. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Major Flowers comes over one day. He's like, "Hey, First Sergeant Love, Brigade Sergeant Major wants to see you." And it was Sergeant Major Knock. Don Knock was the Brigade Sergeant Major. He only had about another month or two, and then he was retiring. And Brian Myers came in and backfilled it. But anyway, long story short, I asked Sergeant Major Flowers, I was like, "What the fuck does he want to see me for?" And he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I don't know." And so I went over there the next day, and I got tremendous respect for Sergeant Major Knock. But I also knew he was not one that you wasn't going to ask a bunch of questions of him. And so I went over there, I'm Rifle Company First Sergeant, knock on the Brigade Sergeant Major's door. He says, "Come on in, Airborne." I walked in, I'm standing at parade rest or whatever. He said, "Hey, Airborne, you're moving to HAC Brigade. Any question?" I thought about it for a second. I was like, "When, Sergeant Major?" He said, "Tomorrow morning, 6:30. I said, "Oh, Airborne." So I went back. I think Captain Adamczyk was I think he was the company commander. I went back, told Captain Adamczyk, I'm like, "Hey, sir, I'm reporting to HAC Brigade tomorrow." He was stressing out. But my point is, when I first got there, talking about, because I think it's important to share failures, to share vulnerabilities, to share mistakes, whatever you want to frame it. I got there, a few weeks go by, and Sergeant Major Knott, we had I won't use the guy's name, but we had an E7 in the brigade who was getting court-martialed. And the E7 had about 19 years in the Army. And quite honestly, the brigade sergeant major was tired of seeing him, because he had sort of put him on brigade staff duty. Yeah. He could do a day on, a couple of days off. He could keep his eye on him, but he was just tired of seeing him because he really disgusted him. And so he said, "Hey, get this guy, put him down in HAC Brigade in the company." And so I didn't know what to do with him. So I just put him on CQ every day. We didn't run a 24/7 at HAC Brigade. We would open the building at about 5:30. And then I would set him at the desk, which was not, not a lot of sergeant first classes are sitting on the CQ desk all day, every day. And so I'll make a long story short, but there's a huge lesson that I learned through this process. We had been doing this for a couple of weeks. I've got his packet. It's thick. It's ugly. It was spouse abuse and child, he had 4 or 5 kids, and just ugly. And he came to me after a few weeks and said, "Hey, First Sergeant, I need to take 5 days leave." And my first response was, "Get the hell out of my sight."
Yeah.
You flagged, you've been court-martialed, move out. So he did. But then he came back a few days later. He got the same response. But what he was told me was his wife was having brain surgery. That's not a everyday thing. So anyway, a few days go by or whatnot. It's a long time ago, but his wife came in to see me, and she was in tears, and all she wanted was for her husband to have 5 days of leave so that he could care for those 4 or 5 kids, so she could have this brain surgery. I'm like, man. So I called over to Womack. It took me a while, but I spoke to the doctor. I'm like, "Sir, is this legit, like brain surgery?" Yes, it was all legit.
Jeez.
I'm like, man. So I said, "Okay, in my mind, I'm like, okay, we got to put this guy on leave for the family, for the kids, So I walked in. I think it was Captain Stanley, maybe Captain Harvey. I don't remember. I had 2 company commanders my time, but I walked in and said, "Hey, sir, we got to put this guy on leave." And he was stressing. I was like, "Sir, I'm telling you, put this guy on leave. Sign the DA 31, 5 days, Monday through Friday." And so he did. Well, what I didn't know, again, now we weren't as tied to, all of our systems weren't totally in sync on computers and things like that around 2004, 2005, or 2006, whenever it was. But what I did not know is 3, 4, 5, 6 months prior to his whole court martial becoming a thing, he was a sergeant first class that had received hard copy orders to PCS Fort Lewis, Washington.
Jeez.
Well, he was a pretty savvy E7. He still had the hard copies. Naturally, it was rescinded.
Yeah.
All that.
They're out there.
Well, what I didn't know, and I didn't know his wife was in on it too. So long story short, we gave him that 5 days of leave. Following Monday rolled around, and this NCO, this E7 is missing. So I called over to the brigade S1. I said, "Hey, he's missing. AWOL, failure to report, whatever." And but a few hours later, they called me back, said, "Hey, First Sergeant, no, he's not AWOL. He's not missing. He is signed in to Fort Lewis, Washington. He's in
Oh my God. Jeez.
What he needed was, there's things you could do at lunch, but you can't do housing. You can't do CIF. There's some big ticket items that you need a little more time." And so that was the whole reason. It was sad too, because the wife was, more concerned with him hopefully making it to 20 and salvaging some type of retirement pay or something. So, I walked over to Sergeant Major Myers, who had been the brigade sergeant major, God bless his soul, because he was killed a couple of years ago, and man, I love that guy to death.
Yeah, he was well respected.
Yeah, very well respected. Anyway, we had to go see Sergeant Major Capel. So it's me, Sergeant Major Flowers, going to report to the division sergeant major at 5:30 or something like that. And I honestly thought that was it. I was fired. I was fired. My career was over, because I wasn't going to say, "Hey, I did that." I told the company commander, "Sir, we're putting this guy on leave. It's the right thing to do for his family." And he could have said no, but it was still on me. It wasn't on the company commander. I had a pretty good reputation there. People tended to listen to me. And anyway, long story short, I go up there to see Sergeant Major Capel, and you want to talk about a lesson in leadership.
I remember him too.
Yeah, I mean, I love Sergeant Major Capel, but I was standing outside his office, me and Sergeant Major Myers, and Division Sergeant Major came in, walks in, he says, "Come on, you two." And Sergeant Major Myers said, "Hey, Sergeant Major, can you give me just a few minutes?" So he went in. I don't know what they said. I mean, I do, but not verbatim.
Yeah.
And so I walked in there, and the division sergeant major said, "Airborne, you know what I think?" And in my mind, I'm like, I really want to know, but he said, "You did exactly what you were supposed to do." I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
He said, a lot of times in any leadership position, we have all the things that are black and white, but more often than not, we're going to operate in the gray. And I didn't know he had orders that were, several months old. I didn't know his intent was to just leave Fort Bragg and drive to Fort Lewis and try to escape a court martial. But he shared an eerily similar story when he was a first sergeant. Almost identical, but some different, parameters and whatnot. And but I just remember, man, he took a chance on me. He saw something And so I really made it a point from that day forward to like, hey, now not everybody deserves second. There are mistakes that you can't overcome, and I'll be the first to hammer down on that, recommend it. But man, I just think back to that. That's the first time in my whole career that I felt I had genuinely screwed up. Shit, I might have even cried the night before because I was like, man, it's over, but it wasn't. And so I think you learn all those lessons, it's lessons galore, but you learn them throughout a career. And what you want to do is try to pass as much of that, because at the end of the day, everything that we did while in uniform was how to make our Army better, how to train the people to take your place, to make our Army the best it could possibly be, be it lethality or leadership or, whatever the bucket is. So anyway, I don't share that story with a lot of people because it's not like it was, oh man, it did something good.
We don't see you going in the office to get your ass chewed though.
No. I mean, only once.
I know, but it's just like, man, Jack, going to get, like none of us would even imagine that, so.
Yeah. But, those are the burdens that you sort of, you live with, you learn from. I put it like this, I made sure that all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. But I would tell you this, if I had the same situation to do again, I would make the same recommendation. Because it was the right thing to do for the family and those 5 kids or so. And we brought his ass back to Fort Bragg. the lawyers got him quick. And he was separated 19 years, 7 months, no benefits. A lot of times you hear the barracks lawyers say, well, if you make it to, 19 years, oh no, you're not. You're not good. Nope. You better soldier till the last day.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. We had we commanded during COVID. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Like it was like men manning, essential personnel, and then like we got the deployment, to go to Afghanistan, and then during COVID, and then closing down, Afghanistan. And I think our hardest challenge, man, was just the communication piece of that. And like I think, Chris used me pretty well. I think we went, he couldn't go anywhere because he was stuck. We had a small base in Camp Dwyer in Hillman. We were like the command. Yeah. We went into this like no one gave us we didn't know what we were doing. So you're the base command team for this base, and it's all special operations. So I'm trying to enforce standards, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it was hard for us, man. I think that was one of the hardest deployments to communicate. Like communication in a battalion and trying to get the commander's intent down to the lowest levels, like some of the hardest things to do, So
that was tyranny of distance.
Yeah. But Sergeant Major Jack, sorry, you brought up a good point earlier, right? That talks to Jerry's point. It's a lesson that I think Jerry and I learned, probably a little too late, as will be the case. But it's about when is the right time to start repeating yourself and your message that you're trying to get down to the troops. So that's kind of at the broader level, right? What Jerry was talking about a little bit there was that, but then also the individual message of Hey, brother, it's COVID. I don't know when COVID's going to stop. Now we're in Afghanistan. I don't know when it's going to stop. You had that message going on, but then also the message of, for us, it was standards, discipline, and accountability, right? Everything was about standards, discipline, and accountability. You got to know the standard. You got to have the discipline to meet it. And if you don't, then I'm going to hold you accountable. And so it was fairly easy. But what we learned, again, probably a little too late, and I want to say it was when we were going through one of the training rotations, I kind of looked around and realized, man, none of these MFers were here when Jerry and I started. These are all new guys. and looking at Jerry and be like, man, we've got to be able to continue to beat that drum, right? And that's a good lesson for junior leaders out there. As a company commander, I never thought about that, and I had 3 different commands, right? It was just, oh yeah, I'm God's gift to the infantry. Let's go do this.
Right.
And so it's something that you've got to be able to continue to beat that drum about whatever it is that's important to you as a leader. That, hey, this is important. Listen to me. This is what I mean by that. But then the more nuanced picture that Jerry was talking about with, the communication piece was the hardest. And I hate that, right? Because what's the number one comment in AARs? Oh, communication. But it really was. And it was how do you, how do you convince somebody that, hey, we are telling you everything that we know, and I swear to God, I'm not bullshitting you. This is it. This is God's honest truth. I'm not holding anything back. And at the end of the day, it's you can't please everybody, so you keep trying to do what you do, and trying to be as honest and open as you can. I also really liked your piece about the expression of vulnerability. That I think a lot of leaders don't necessarily take that to heart. There's a time and a place for it. Coming out of Afghanistan, the last time with Jerry, Charlie Company 431 had a bit of a hard time there, and it took Jerry and I standing up there in front of them, and then First Sergeant Kelly and Captain Swayze Brown standing in front of those soldiers saying, "Hey, this affects us just as much as it affects you. I'm going to talk to these people to try to work through this stuff now." Because one of the comments I love when I listen to your podcast, and I see you on there, Doc, I appreciate you dialing in for this over at GWAT Goons, was I believe he asked you something along the lines of, how do you keep doing what you do on a daily basis? And how do you get soldiers to continue to do what they do? Because I know Doc asked me a similar question when bad shit just happened. Whether that's IED, gunfight, whatever it is, and I believe your response was something along the lines of, "Hey, look, I need you to figure out how to compartmentalize that, pull your bootstraps up, and I need you to keep going, because there's a time and a place to be able to do that." And so I know that really spoke to me because those are almost my exact same words. And so the ability to be able to push that down and try to figure out how to do that. Yeah, it's hard.
It is tough. I apologize. My phone, that was another old White Falcon. Sergeant Major Reggie Fox, retired, was calling me.
Yeah.
I just texted him, said, "Hey, I'm in a podcast. I'll hit you up later."
Tell him to dial in.
Yeah. But I think your point, sir, is well taken too about the communication aspect, and that's different when you're back at Fort Drum, and you can kind of see all the leaders, certainly on a weekly basis, more oftentimes. But when you were in a place like Afghanistan, and you were trying to collapse all these different camps and FOBs and outposts, and that's tough. I share. I think the best I ever saw this done. Now it was a little harder, but he was brilliant. The Lieutenant General retired. And give me a second. Tom James. He was a Major General, naturally, at 7th ID Commander, but Major General Tom James was brilliant. So he got into the division about 2 months before me. I was coming out of Fort Bragg. I was up in the G3, and I get there, and the only people that wore the 7th ID patch then, back in 2015, were the 251 people in the division headquarters. We had one safety civilian, 250 uniformed people. That was it. So 1-2 striker didn't wear it. They wore the Indian head. 2-2 striker, 16th cab, triple nickel engineers. Back then we had the 201st EMIB. and the 17th Field Artillery Brigade. So we had 7 brigades aligned under 7th ID, from an OpCon standpoint. We didn't have TACON on them per se, but they, all the training meetings, resourcing land and all the things that a division staff would do, we had that. And, what I was trying to get to is I think he was really, really brilliant because he come up with the, I don't remember what we called it, bayonet, focus, things, but he flooded the zone. So 7 brigades, I don't know how much we spent, probably a lot, but his priorities are the things that he wanted every bayonet soldier to be able to focus on, 7 days a week. There was in every company battery troop footprint. And so you couldn't go anywhere without that constant reminder. And it's certainly a little bit easier to do at the battalion level than, say, the division. But I think how you do that, it does take reps and sets. It takes creativity. I did a former job in ROTC land out in Fort Lewis. And I'm like, man, I was not happy about going to that, but it's one of the best assignments I ever had in my life. Yep. But we had 8 states and 2 territories, from California to Montana, and then Alaska, Hawaii, Guam, and Samoa. So how did you constantly communicate, hold people to the standard, make them accountable, but get the boss's priorities to the edges of the formation. So you got to be creative. You're not going to fly to Hawaii every day to see that ROTC program. It's lots of challenges.
Jack,
I think we lost.
Yeah, he got internet issues. He always got internet issues.
My shit's
Jack,
old.
Did you have a one of the guys is asking what's Sergeant Major Love's top 5 books to read? Did you have a book list, or did you have any of that kind of stuff?
No, I was never a big I've read a few books, not many. But it seemed like everybody had a doggone recommended reading list.
Yeah.
Everybody. So I was like, what? So I think I read one book in high school. It was called I don't think I know.
Do you remember the name? Because I'm the same. I literally only read one book in high school, and I remember the name.
It was Fullback Fever.
Do you see us?
Mine was Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Couldn't even tell you what the book was about.
Yeah, mine was Fullback Fever, and I think I had to do, I don't know, book report every year. So I just redid it, on that same book. Yeah. But if I was to, I do tell people, and I mentioned this to the cadets at University of Alabama a few weeks ago. If there's one book that I really would recommend leaders to read, and I'm not trying to sell the damn book or nothing. This guy retired when I was at 7th ID, Command Sergeant Major, now retired. Scott Schroeder was the Force Com Sergeant Major. And then he retired. And then after he retired a while, he wrote a book. Hold on, I'll tell you the name of it.
His son was in my platoon. Yeah.
Behind the Colors by CSM retired Scott Schroeder. And I thought it was awesome. I would pull that book out every couple of months. The thing that I really liked about it, now he told some war stories and whatnot. That was great. It was a perspective, but he really broke down by chapter each pay grade on the enlisted side. So Sergeant E5, and each pay grade basically had 3 words that were fundamental to that rank. An E5 was lead, train, inspect. Didn't matter what MOS. Those 3 words were fundamental. Now he would talk about, what that meant. A battalion sergeant major, CSM. The 3 words were drive, shape, and influence the formation. based on the commander's intent, priorities, and whatnot. But I thought that book was really, really good, you know. And I think for any leader, it could be a platoon sergeant, could be a first sergeant, whatever, and you've been doing it for a period of time, I think if you go to that, you read it, chances are pretty good some of the gaps they're gonna come first, you know, quickly in your mind. You're gonna say, man, I'm not doing this thing, that thing, and maybe we should be.
Yeah.
But that's the only one I've ever recommended.
I don't see a lot of sergeant major with reading lists there, or book lists, or whatever you call them.
You know, I'll share this with you, Jerry. This is going to sound very, you know, I don't know, stupid or trivial or whatever, but and it still applies today. I think, you know, the great thing is when we came through the military in large part, you had a lot of field manuals, training curriculars, Army regulations, you know, you name hard copies. And even if they were a little bit outdated, it was still learning. And I think we've gotten away from that. You know, now everything's on a PDF or on a computer somewhere.
All at the touch of your fingertips.
Yeah, sure. But I will tell you now, my wife will be pissed off at me for saying this, but for years and years and years, you know, when you're at home, I couldn't do it at work because people would think I was even more crazy. But when I was at home, probably from about the time I'll say staff sergeant, maybe sergeant E5, until I retired. If I went to the head or the latrine and I didn't have a book, I'd yell at Cindy and say, "Hey, I need a book." But she knew it had to be. It could be field sanitation, hygiene. It could be marksmanship. It was something to do with the Army.
Yeah.
So I always read something in the shitter tied to, you know, our profession.
I was the same way too.
Yeah. And nothing else.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's I don't. I mean, you used to make everybody write things out at the White Falcons, like you said. You mentioned on that.
Yeah. I can promise you this. Yeah, if you've written a regulation, you have read it.
True story.
You know, and you can't skim it that way. But I think reading is one of the most important things a leader can do. And it could be history, it could be, you know, current doctrine, it could be anything about our profession of arms. I think you have to carve out time to read. It doesn't mean you're going to memorize it all. Even when something comes up, you're going to find yourself going back to that regulation to try to figure out, you know, get some exactness. But reading is so important. And sometimes, you know, I don't think enough non-commissioned officers do that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's where officers have a great not benefit, but, you know, what an officer learns to do at college, quite honestly, is develop study habits and to manage time. And a lot of enlisted folks, you know, we go to basic AIT, jump school, whatever, and then you're just trying to do, you know, survive the day, survive the week. But the earlier you can get people to reading, to learning, and whether it's jump master personnel inspection, you know, how to memorize that, or preparing for a soldier of the month board. That's what those are for. It's nobody cares who wins. I mean, you know, you do. Somebody's got to be the best, but it's really about encouraging people to learn about the military. And that never stops. You know, people gripe about change, but shit, we've been changing since 1775.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to change. And so,
and soldiers are so connected too. Like, I mean, they get their phones down, like they can just pull up a regulation, and it doesn't make it like tougher. as a leader, you got to kind of know things now because, the young soldiers have access to it so quick, so you have to make sure you're on your game and like study that stuff, get into it because they can pull all the reg on you like in a second. They're not going to go back and pull the menu out of the shelf,
Right.
and you don't have time, flash to bang to figure it out. But it's crazy how it is now, so.
But, lifelong learning. That's one of the 15 secrets of leadership. That's operational, it's institutional, and it's self.
Yeah.
It never stops. It never goes away. And when it does, it's probably time to do something else.
Yeah, no, I love that point. Right, it's how do you get that instilled into you at an early age so that you can actually take advantage of it. Right. I myself, I wasn't kidding. I read that one book in high school, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. The next book I read wasn't until my last semester of college. I had to take 4 electives in order to graduate, and I had to take them in like 6 weeks. It was a very condensed schedule because the Army was being the Army, and ended up had to read like 4 books in 6 weeks. And it was one of those where like I literally had to read them from cover to cover. But the goodness is I happened to find a book that I liked in that because it was a bunch of electives for my my undergrad. I happened to find a book I like and realized, oh shit, reading is actually kind of interesting if you find the right books. But then from there it was like, okay, well, discovery learning, right? Because this was back in early 2000s. Discovery learning. What's this book? And you base it off of, well, the cover looks cool, or you start reading manuals, right? And you start being able to realize that you can start to apply some of the things that you're reading in there to your real life and then to your work, and then that hopefully it just starts to have a compounding effect or an exponential effect. But yeah, it's. I personally have tried. I did it in USUR. I did it in command, but specifically in USUR, I started a book club, for lack of a better term, and it was open to everything, right? And it was open to everyone when I was in USUR. So we had a couple of specialists in there. I think maybe even a private, like the one private in the U.S. Army Europe and Africa headquarters. I think she was the only private there. And then, all the way up to, we had some GS-15s in there, and it was just sitting down and trying to get people to understand. Oh, we just lost Jack. I think he hit a button or somebody hit a button. Yeah. So we'll try to get him on, folks. I'll fill the air and let Jerry work his connections there. But yeah.
Do I have to send him an invite again? Let me see.
Yeah, probably. And so for those of you out there, not to make light of reading, because you have to know what the regulations and the rules are first in order to be able to adapt from them, right? And so that's when you start talking about the military specifically. And I can never remember the old either Prussian or German soldier officer that commented on the fact that, that's the thing with the American military is you can go out and find the regulations. What makes them so special is the fact that they don't actually do what's in the regulations. It's in their field training manual, right? Because we adapt. We overcome, we do different things. And it's not because we don't actually read them, right? The good ones know them inside and out, but then they know how to adapt to the situation. And it's about that lifelong learning. All right, looks like we're getting Sergeant Major back in here. Yep, you just got to pull him in.
Okay. How do I do that?
I got it.
Okay.
There we go. All right, we're back.
I don't know what happened. It just dropped on my end.
I'm gonna blame the S6 again, like we always do.
Yeah.
So Jack, we had a similar situation of that in Afghanistan, where the young man to my left hung up on a 4-star going to helicopter. General Miller appreciate it. So, like,
I'll never forget, Jerry. I want to say this was OIF 2. We were in maybe that was the vegetable oil factory. I don't remember.
The beef factory. Yep.
Yeah, it was tough conditions, man. And Captain Eldridge, God bless him, he had an interview on a phone with some people back in DC. He was one of the final, handful of candidates for the Olmsted Scholarship.
Yeah.
And he got on his phone, man, and it wasn't even 3 or 4 minutes into it. And the time, that was all the minutes that was left on the damn thing or whatever. You had to scrap. And he was panicking, man. He's like, "First sergeant." Now I'm like, "Oh, sure, I got it." And I went out there, and one of the Whoas had a fresh card, and we scratched that shit off, put it in, and he got back in touch with them, and they said, "Well, sir, Captain, you've proven that you're resilient."
Yeah.
Anyway, he got the Olmsted, got to go to Russia and all that, but shit happens.
We were sitting there, and it was just it was like the daily, sink or whatever. And, General Miller goes around the horn. He's like, "Chris," there was like 2 Chris's. I don't know how. And then I look over to him, I'm support my battle buddy. And he's like, I see him reach over, and he just like click. It just turns the whole. I'm like, "Sir, you just disconnected General Miller."
Yeah.
All right. So in my defense, okay. So when I moved into this house, it's an awesome house, but the one thing I'll complain about is it's only got a 1-car garage. Yeah. As both of you gentlemen know, being in the military for 29 plus years myself, you collect a lot of shit, right? And a lot of it for us ends up in the garage. Well, with just a 1-car garage, that's not enough. So I needed to build a shed out back because our house did not have a shed. So I called my father-in-law, my wife's older brother, and we're out there building the shed. And what do you do if you hammer enough nails? You're going to hit a thumb or a finger or something eventually. And it's you do it once, and you're like, "Son of a biscuit." Yeah. Well, what happens when you hit it the first time? It turns nice and blue and black. And then what do you see out of the corner of your eye now every single time you're going to hammer in that nail? You see that nice big blue and black target. On a VTC, what is the only color button you see on a VTC? A red off button. Right. And I wasn't thinking, I just went straight for that damn red button. And there you go.
Yeah, I'm sure old General Retired Scotty Miller understood.
Great.
He had a good laugh.
Great guy.
He had a good laugh.
Great guy, by the way. Great guy, by the way. I respected him so much, so.
No doubt.
I don't know. For me growing up and then having have pretty much, I think my first interaction with you, Jack, I don't know if you remember this, man. I think we were on R&R in 03, I don't know, somewhere like Qatar or something. And like, you gave me your beers. I don't know if you remember that, but I think you were Sergeant First Class, and we were drinking some beers at I think it was like 2 beer limit or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you. That was the first time I saw you, and then, I was, now, still just seeing you 30 years, this long time later. But every time I grew up, I would always say, "Hey man, like even when we were like command team or even in whatever command position I was in, I was always say, hey, what would Jack do when I was making a tough decision?" I was like, I would always go back, "Hey man, what fucking Jack would do? Like, what would he do at this moment?" Right. So I don't know, because there was this one time, and I don't know if you remember this, where like I canceled it. I just canceled the jump or whatever, it was weather or whatever. It was a VIP jump. Yeah. And everybody was like, the sergeant major was chewing my ass. He was going to decertify me and everything. But you probably don't think it means much to you. But when you pulled me aside that one day and said, "Hey, you did the right thing," like that still like resonates with me to my whole career. For that little, it's weird, that little spot of you taking the time to say, "Hey man, you made the right decision," compared to like, getting, because my leadership at the time, he just was chewing my butt, and everybody else, there was, the core sergeant major all said it did a good job. But you pulling me aside that one time and saying, "Hey man, hey jump master, you did a good job." That still resonates with me for some reason, man.
Yeah.
But,
well, little things.
Yeah, it's the little things, so
Little
like
things.
and I always preach that, because I say, hey, like if you're making a decision, stick with it. Even if, I made a decision and I had to stick with it. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the jump master's in charge of the aircraft.
yeah.
And you're going to make the decision whether paratroopers exit or not. And it's what they train us to do in school. It's not always not a lot of people are going to applaud the decision, but lives are certainly, in jeopardy or potentially. And so I remember it well.
Yeah. I was like, man, dude,
it's it really boils down to emotional intelligence. That's what it boils down to. I mean, I've never been a real smart guy. I know that. I have to read things twice, study a little harder. But I think the one thing I at least hope feel like I had a pretty good emotional intelligence, and I could always tell how people were feeling, or that in that space. And so I mean, hey, you could easily just beat people down. That's easy. It's not. I think I might have shared this with Jeremy. Any leader could walk into a CP or a live fire, or you name the training event or the audience. Anybody can find 5 to 10 things that are just completely effed up. That's easy. Leadership will look at like, hey, let me, I'll say it in a very benign way. Jerry, you remember doing like a barracks room inspection?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's known about it for a while. Everybody's had time to prepare. You're going through the rooms, everything's looking good. You go into this one room and it's like a football bat. It's like, just a disaster. I think most people are going to immediately go to, what WTF, whatever that is. Yeah. And that's not necessarily wrong, but I would encourage NCOs certainly later, like, hey, pause. You see the football bat, it's there. But try to make a connection, something positive. It could be, hey, didn't you just get a new girlfriend? Didn't you just score back then a 300 on the Army physical fitness test? But now you got to know the people to do that. But make a positive connection. And then naturally you're going to circle back to the football bat that's in that barracks room.
Mm-hmm.
But when you leave, the soldiers, who own that room, either way, they're going to fix the room. But if you do something positive and make that connection, the only thing they're going to remember is, man, first sergeant or platoon sergeant, whoever's inspect, knew that I was the soldier of the month, or knew that I had a new girlfriend, or got a new tattoo, or whatever it may be. And they're going to clean and fix the room with pride, man.
Yeah.
The other way, it's like, oh, this is a fucking raging asshole, pardon my French, but because you might not have known all the circumstances that led to it. You'd be surprised sometimes, I think when I was listening to y'all as you were doing your test run, I think the discussion led towards, UCMJ, Article 15s and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember probably up through Sergeant First Class, in my mind, and I believed it deeply. It's like, if you got a DUI and you were endangering your life and other people's, families and just innocent people out there, there's only 3 letters coming out of my mouth. It was Max.
Yeah.
Max.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I learned later on that's not always the case. And I won't get into, but I'll just say a guy that I knew that lived way out in Rayford. One night, his wife had a heart attack. around midnight. They had been drinking pretty much the whole evening. He was way past drunk. And, he called, 911. They said, sir, ambulance is on the way. It's about 45 minutes. Well, then you got to go another 45 minutes to get back to Womack. And so he made a decision on the spot. He put his wife in his car and he hauled ass to Womack. Now he actually got pulled over, and we got it dropped in court, but the police officer actually cited him with a DUI. He saw the wife; she was unconscious. He's in a frantic, but no, you just never know. You can't have that one, like, if this happens, this is going to happen, because you don't know all the circumstances to it. This guy and his wife, and he lost his wife. She passed.
Oh man. I think it's like, going into that too, Jack, me and Chris dealt with it all the time. It's like the young leaders that would come in there and step in front of the battalion commander, they would naturally just think, everybody would just be on repeat, like, Max, whatever, it's like, you got to do some, got to do some research, and you got to think about it. And, soldiers have they're all different human beings and different things. And you don't have to go, there's other ways that you can deal with punishment and a recommendation to the boss. And you don't necessarily have to go straight to the max the whole time, and getting those young NCOs, platoon sergeants to know that, think about the punishment a little bit. It doesn't have to be rushed, this is your time to talk to the battalion commander, what you think and what it is. It's I know I've been in some that are very formal, and you don't feel like you have a lot of say in the matter. You just got to get your recommendation out and move on to the next guy. But, it's a good time to talk to the boss. He wants that. He knows that. You guys know more than he does at this point. You're a first line supervisor, but, just being educated, man, and just don't crush the kid. I mean, sometimes they do things. Some deserve it. Some deserve to get crushed naturally. But think about it a little bit, emotional leadership, emotional maturity.
I don't know what the name is. I know I still have it on this computer, but I don't want to touch any buttons.
The red one.
I've called it for years. I call it the best speech ever. And it was a guy at West Point who was a professor in some department, but he had spent most of his career in the Ranger Regiment. And he would always share these lessons with his cadets, and they were like, "Sir, you gotta tell this at a dining in or a dining out or something." It's because not every cadet was getting to hear all this, just the ones in his class. And he reluctantly refused, for a long time, and one day he did, and it's really cool how he lays it out, because it's lesson one, it's Grenada. He's in this foxhole with this RTO, and this kid's a surfer. But then he talks it through, and he's a battalion commander at this point in all these lessons, and he was in I think it was 3rd Ranger Battalion. And long story short, he had this sergeant first class in his battalion, a great, one of the best in the battalion. But this sergeant first class, his wife figured out that lawyers make more money than sergeant first classes, and so she was leaving him. He never drank ever. But now he's got this just ugly divorce. His wife's leaving him. They got kids involved. And he was on the promotion list. He hadn't got promoted yet, but he could have took a rank, which in his case it would have been taken 2. But the company commander said, "Sir, this is not this NCO. This was a one-off." And but he basically stood in the breach. Mm-hmm. He cared about him. And I remember, as he's telling this lesson, as the story goes on, another year or 2 goes by, and company commander and battalion commander getting ready to leave, and no platoon sergeant's still there, and he didn't lose a rank. They suspended it or whatever, but they didn't crush him. And he comes up, to the 2 of them with tears in his eyes. And you can just imagine the, I don't want to say respect, but gratitude they saw something that this wouldn't, and then sometimes you do got to.
Yeah, you got to 100%.
That's probably the weight of command right there. It's one of the toughest things that I think any commander has to deal with is Uniform Code of Military Justice. And because you want standards, you want discipline, you want everybody to be held accountable, and you do that. But everybody don't know all the circumstances that surround every, case that walks into the boss's office to, but I'll send you that. I would send it out about once a year, whatever unit I was in, to the leaders and just say, hey, because no bullshit. It'll, if it don't put a tear in your eye reading these lessons, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as a leader, I think you still can have compassion. I think and still be a hard ass, right? Like I think you and Flowers did a pretty good job at that. Like, showing that you care and still holding people accountable. Like, sometimes I'm scared to go into this. But
I could talk about Sergeant Major Flowers all day.
Yeah.
The love and respect I have for that man. But I'll tell you what he really taught me. I had been in the 82nd since I was a young E5. And every, be it first sergeant, sergeant major, at all levels, they were all incredible. We were really lucky. But they didn't smile. It was just business 24/7.
Robotic.
Discipline. They cared, and they held you to a high standard. And I'm sure they smiled. But I can tell you, I don't think I ever smiled, and I probably carried that home, unfortunately, because I had seen this model, this way to be, for so many years, and now I'm a first sergeant, and it was Sergeant Major Flowers who. This guy had spent 21 years in the Ranger Regiment. He comes out of Sergeant Major's Academy, and they give him assignment instructions to the 82nd. And I remember him telling me, he's like, hey, I think y'all got the wrong Flowers. And they're like, no, we got the right one. But the thing that I really he was just different than any other leader I had ever been around, because he was comfortable in his own skin, very much so. He was not afraid to laugh with the boys, to cry with them. He would come down to Alpha Company in combat, and the battalion commander might not see him for a week.
Yeah.
But the boss trusted him. He knew where he was. I'm sure he was providing, information as applicable. But man, he really taught me, as stupid as this may sound, he taught me how to smile and not take everything so serious. And that you can have fun, professional fun, and you can share some vulnerabilities, and because I think people, sometimes that just wasn't the culture per se at least in my experience in the late 80s. Through most of the 90s, it was, I'm not saying that's bad. He was just different. Yeah. And I love it.
Some sergeant majors wear this rank on their chest like they're king of the castles, man. It's just the nature of beast. But you got to spend time, even when the field. I think one of our guys sent me a note one time, and I don't remember it, but he does. And he's like, I guess we were in the field, and I just took time to sit down with him and just talking to him or something. It was just a small engagement, a small thing, but he's like, it was, I guess, it was big for him, right? So you get the sergeant major that takes 5 minutes to sit down with you and just take off the facade a little bit and just get down to earth with that young soldier or paratrooper or whatever. That means a lot to them, and some guys don't realize that, but just showing your human side sometimes is good. I think you guys did a good job of balancing that too. So
Yeah.
You never know
awesome,
who
man.
you're going to be able to impact or affect with something like that, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's right, sir.
Sergeant Major said, or you, Sergeant Major, I like your example about being in the barracks room with a football bat, right? We've all been there. But trying to give that soldier the ability to turn that into at least some sort of positive, so that they've got something that they can take away from that. There's a time and a place to come in and be the hammer because there's a nail that needs to be hit, but that's not always the case.
Yeah,
and it gets back to your original comment about the emotional intelligence and being able to read that situation. Not everybody can, and even if they can, and so how do you develop that, right? And it's something that I've struggled with, in the idea of how do I, being put in battalion command, try to get my company commanders, my lieutenants, my NCOs to emulate something like that, and then being able to turn it, like I said, on a dime, and realize, okay, well, now I need to be a hammer, right?
Yeah.
And that's a tough chore, very, very tough chore.
Yeah, no, that's right, sir.
I don't know that it translates well.
Yeah, I mean, you peel it back. We're in the business of deploy, fight, and win, and that's tough.
Yep.
So you certainly can't be a candy ass, and but there are ways to do it, and I do think there's something that has to be taught and coached, and be it one-on-one with people or sometimes group settings, to let people see your. Again, it goes back to sharing mistakes. I remember. And I'm still not proud of this, but I've talked about it for years. I filed bankruptcy as a staff sergeant. And I did not want to do that. But I had just bought a house. It's out to McDougal Downs out on Rayford Road. And back then it was pretty nice. Now it's like it's a war zone. But but we bought this little starter home. I don't know, it was probably like $60,000. 2 or 3 months later, I get put on assignment to Fort Benning to be a drill sergeant. I'm like, man. So we get this realtor. They rented it. It took a few months, but they rented it. But it was to a young couple. They didn't pay the bill. They destroyed the house. Long story short, was, I think Cindy and I paid the house note at Benning and at Bragg for about 18 months. But we had nothing. I mean, we were paying, all of my money was going towards paying for 2 houses, and we couldn't do it no more. They tried to get me to put everything on. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I had a vehicle. I said, nope, I'm only going to file bankruptcy on the house. That's the only thing I can't pay. And it took 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever, for your credit to get back up, and certainly not something that you're proud of. But I think that's just the reality of, it's life. And it doesn't matter if you're in the military or if you're out in the civilian world. Everybody has stressors, relationship, finances, drugs or alcohol. And once you go through any of those experiences, I think the willingness to talk and hopefully prevent and maybe help others know that, one, you can survive it and you can come out the other side and you'll be okay. I didn't lose my clearance or none of that stuff. I was open. I was forthcoming with it all, and it didn't hurt me. But I think a lot of times the tendency is to be like, not say nothing. Certainly with your buddies in the circle, in the platoon or the company, because I don't know, some part of you feels shamed maybe, but that's leadership too. That's helping others learn from your mistakes and hopefully help them not, go through the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't talk about financial readiness in the 90s. I can guarantee you that.
No. I mean, I'm going through that, Jack. It's like, you're being a leader, senior first sergeant, platoon sergeant, like you can get caught up in the negativity of stuff. And like, you learn from your mistakes, but you also like you teach that to the young soldiers. You develop them for that, but you always got to pay attention to those ones that are always like lurking and watching you, right? Because they're going to be the good ones, right? Like I wasn't, there's guys like me that when you were sergeant major, right? We paid attention to you, like we watched you every move, even the position you were in, like all the eyes were on you, right? Like you're just setting that example and telling those stories like you just did, and like you're going to get those guys that are going to be, they're going to listen, and they're going to be future sergeant majors or first sergeants, right? They're going to, it gets so easy to get caught up on like those, the E4 Mafia kids, and they're doing their time and they're getting out or whatever. But it's, I don't know.
I tell you something, man, something that I think might resonate with anybody who listens to this at whenever. And you know how oftentimes you'll sort of kick yourself like, man, why didn't I think of this when I was in that position? Or why didn't I think of that, before? And sometimes it's little things, and sometimes it's bigger things. But I remember I was talking to Tony Grinston. I had just got selected to go to the 7th ID. I had about a month or so before I would, report to Fort Lewis. And Tony Grinston was the division sergeant major of the Big Red 1. I didn't know him.
Mm-hmm.
I had never met him. We were at some conference, a small talk on a bus going from here to there, and I just asked him a question. I was like, "Hey, sergeant major," he was getting ready to leave Big Red 1 and go to First Corps, which 7th ID, fell under First Corps. And so we made some small talk, and I said, "Well, hey, sergeant major, just one question. Like, what's the one thing you did in your time as division sergeant major that was absolutely the most impactful?" And he's like, "Man, I'm really glad you asked that question." Now, it's not something you can measure,
mm-hmm.
but I did it, and I tweaked it a little bit, maybe slightly different than the way he did it. But what he told me was, we all know to focus 2 levels down. Everybody knows that. And you're going to know you're 1 level down very well, and you're going to focus 2 levels down. So as a division sergeant major, my 2 levels down was those 23 battalion CSMs across our footprint. And you do all the things that you do to get reps and sets with them. But the real trick, and this is what I took from SMA retired Tony Grinston, was how do you get 3 levels down? Yeah. And I'm not talking about a sensing session in every quarter. That's good, but how do you? And so and it's a slippery slope too. But what I took from him, what he did that I employed, was I had each of the brigade sergeant majors. There were 7 of them, and I said, "Hey, I want you to pick." I hate to use the word best, but best first sergeant in your brigade. I don't care if the first sergeant's won the diamond for 3 months or 3 years. I want you to pick the best first sergeant in your entire brigade, someone that you believe in your heart of hearts is going to be a sergeant major. Yeah, if the guy or gal is like committed to retiring in 6 months, well, I don't want that person. So best, but with a few parameters. And so they each picked one. So I had 7. And the 3rd Thursday of every month, I don't care, unless they were like away from Fort Lewis, they were coming to the headquarters. We had this little 2-car garage that we made it all sexy and hung camo, had some beer and a little bar in there. But those 7 first sergeants would meet with me at the 3rd Thursday of every month. And I made it start at 17:30. So yeah, I was violating some family time. But 9 times out of 10, there was no agenda. It was grab a milk crate, grab a chair. I'd let them have a beer, one, and it was just talking. Mm-hmm. And it usually about 2 hours. And there would be times they would present a problem or challenge that I didn't have that as a first sergeant. And so I sometimes I could phone a friend. I say, "Hold on, call the G1 sergeant major. Hey, first sergeant, X has a question for you. I don't know the answer to it, but she would." And And the thing that was really awesome, and we did it one year, and 5 of the 7 were selected to the Sergeant Major's Academy. And then the second year, all 7 went to the academy. But the thing that I got from it, again, you can't measure it, but over half of those first sergeants stayed connected with me. Even in Korea, people would reach out. And, I think back when I was a first sergeant, I don't know if I would have wanted to meet with the division sergeant major once a month.
Yeah.
But really what Grunston was doing was he was the thread of trust, the ability to maybe share, I could share why the division commander, why we were doing X, Y, and Z. Some of the things that they didn't necessarily know or understand, and they sort of got the bigger picture a little bit, but it really created opportunity for those first sergeants to feel comfortable in reaching out.
Yeah.
Because
that's a great plan.
I mean, it's slippery, and you gotta, I think how you do it matters and all that, but I think that's a real, you can peel that down to every level, as first sergeant. Well, you knew your platoon sergeants, and you focused on your squad leaders.
We had some good ones in that battalion too.
But what about those boatload of Sergeant E5s that necessarily didn't feel comfortable coming to a first sergeant?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you got the group of, the best, well, all their peers sort of go to them anyway. I'm sure each of those first sergeants across those brigades had a great reputation with all their peers, fellow first sergeants. And so it was just sharing. I too think that's, if I was to look at my time as a division sergeant major, you do all kinds of things. That's awesome. But I think it was that. And I would have never thought of that had it not been for Tony Grunston. Anyway, I'm not sure.
I think that's a good idea, Sergeant Major, because I look at the first sergeants and it's like sometimes it just depends on like your brigade sergeant major or whatever and how they are. It's like you don't.
That's for all the haters out there.
Yeah, but you don't. I mean, you don't see. I think, with exception to you, I think you were like. I didn't really look past you at the next level sergeant major. Nothing against the brigade sergeant major at the time, but I think you did a good job balancing, like, still taking care of the first sergeants and giving them professional development they need, right? Because I think sometimes it's lacking on, the first sergeant side in some different organizations, right? They don't get the touch points that they need. They're just working. They're just trugging, So taking the time with those guys.
Yeah, and every first sergeant or company commander has different strengths and weaknesses, that's another one of the 15 is one of the. I mentioned the 15 secrets of leadership, but one of them is know what you don't know and then do something about it. Mm-hmm. And then you talk about that. Like, hey, nobody knows your strengths and weaknesses better than you.
Yeah.
You just got to really be honest and seek out people that's going to truly tell you your weaknesses. Yeah. And then not get defensive, because that's human nature. Is like, oh, hey, what the hell are you talking about? But listen to them. To what they're trying to tell you, and it might just help us be better leaders.
Yeah, Chris and I, we had some outspoken first sergeants.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, yeah. But it's like, and it sucks too. I mean, I don't know. Like, we were in the 10th Mountain Division, so we had a lot of sergeant first classes too. Like, we had some short. Yeah. It's just the way the nature of the beast was, and seeing those kids, sergeant first classes step up to be first sergeants is not easy, So
yeah.
But yeah, that's.
But it's been happening, Jerry, since 1775.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know if we had first sergeants back in 1775, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, it was. I appreciate you pulling me over to White Falcons, man, because especially. I did a little time in B code, then went to HSC, and I got to have 2 different Captain Maine, right? Captain Clarkston. So two way different personalities to kind of like learn from. They were just two different commanders,
Yeah.
So, and like I told Chris, I was like, a lot of guys, like I just been bred to be a good counterpart to an officer. I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in, like, you don't say mentorship, but just being a battle
that's what
buddy.
we're supposed to do.
Yeah,
but it ain't the commander's job to sort of change and conform, to the sergeant major. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah. But I just took pride in that part, like working well. And I didn't have, I probably had a couple, but most of my experiences with all the officers I served with have been really outstanding.
Oh, yeah. I've never served with even a remotely bad officer.
Yeah.
It didn't mean they were all the same as tacticians or they, this, that, and the other. Some were better leader developers than other, but they were all just phenomenal, man.
It's about, like, also, I think, building teams too, right? Having the right people, like you said, you did with the White Falcons. So, I think that's what me and Chris did too. We built a pretty good damn team. So,
yeah, it gets a little harder these days because you can't pick up the phone and, maybe, maneuver people the way you could with HRC, but you want people that's committed, and high character, and they just want to do well.
That was one of the bigger things with Jerry and I is you had to want to be on the team, and it wasn't just it wasn't just you, right? Some of that is on Jerry and I, and convincing you that, hey, you want to be on this team because this is the winning team. But at the end of the day, it is on the individual as to whether or not they commit and they want to be on that team. And it was if you didn't want to be on the team, then okay, fine, we're going to find a new spot for you. And it wasn't
100%.
easy.
Yeah, like readiness, sir. It's going to rain, so have an umbrella.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
General Brunson used to say that a lot. I plagiarized that from him.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a lot of guys that want to make them slides green in command and staff. So.
Oh yeah. I will say that's one that you and I never fell in that trap.
I try not to.
Red,
show the brigade commander the reality of what's going on. Like they're there to help you out. Like if you don't, you always look, green. It's not gonna get much help. So if you think you're perfect, right?
No, that's right. Well, it's kind of like soldiers or leaders. You really have 4 types of people in the military. General LeCamber used to say this a lot, and I'm probably butchering a little bit, but he would say you got problem makers, and he would say, which oftentimes come in the form of second lieutenants or young hoods. Then you got the problem identifiers. You pick the rank that's identifying problems, but they don't often have solutions. Then you got problem solvers, and you got problem preventers. And all of us, have to figure out where we are, in that. And in the battalion, it's tough because sometimes you're doing all of those, battalion commander and sergeant major is not problem makers, although they can be sometimes.
Agreed.
But
we might have caused a couple problems.
well, everybody does. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Yes,
Jackie, do you know you got one of the guys sent me the other day. He said that there's a Jackie Love Southern Pub and Grill. Are you tracking that?
A lot.
He said it to me. He's like, I won't touch on it much. He just sent me the.
Are you getting residuals from this?
No, I remember it from a long time ago. I thought it was just something that I forget who it was.
No, there's a kid in Cody Minor. He's a White Falcon. Sent it to me, and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to talk to Sergeant Major, let him know that the Jackie Loves Southern Pub and Grill is a warm and inviting spot in Fort Bragg."
Well, next time I'm that way. I was going to go All American Week this year, but
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not going to be able to make it. General Retired Williams is having some type of induction on 21 May, which is right smack in the middle of All American Week, and he had invited me to come out there, and and I'm going to go, but in my mind, I'm like, damn, sir, that's a plane ticket and hotel and all kinds of stuff, But I want to do it for him because he was just such a great person, great officer. So Cindy and I are going to go out there that week.
Have you been down to the White Falcons?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Last November.
Yeah.
I think it was November. A little over a year ago. The battalion commander, what a great guy. He's an Army football player. He's probably 6'5", 270. He's a beast guy. So him and the sergeant major invited me down to be the guest speaker at a dining in or dining out.
Nice.
Oh, it was awesome, man. But we did PT that morning. I took Gunny, my aide or XO, whatever you want to call it. At the 4-star level, I had a 0311 infantry in the Marine Corps, Gunny Ewan, and then I had a Air Force Master Sergeant, which is E7. Then I had a Army Master Sergeant, but then I had a Gunny Merchant. He was a 0111, so like admin. And he and I went, and man, it was the best day ever, brother. We did PT, man. We was on these like shooting and deadlifting and
so
all kinds of stuff. It was awesome.
I want to go back and see their footprint now. Like just what they got. I don't know if they have any memorials there for Keith or anything like that. But
yeah. Well, this year in All American Week, the Falcon Brigade's unveiling this big Falcon Memorial Monument, where a lot of bricks have been purchased. I think you can still do it, and for our fallen in combat, and but they probably won't want me to say this, but I think it capped off the night. Maybe not perfect, but it was in true paratrooper spirit. I'll be brief on this, but we had a great day. Whole day out in Drop Sicily, and we went down to the Advanced Airborne School. We did all kinds of stuff, and then Gunny and I threw our AGSUs on, whatever. We go to the place that the ball was at, and they're lively, right? And then I say my remarks and whatnot, and that's over. And we hadn't yet retired the colors. We're getting close to that. And I remember the battalion commander came over. He's like, "Hey, Sergeant Major, we gotta end it." I'm like, well, "What do you mean, sir? End it?" He's like, "We're not going to retire the colors." Some paratroopers got to fighting out in the parking lot.
Jeez.
And it was it escalated enough. They had to end the evening. But it didn't bother me. I thought the whole day was awesome.
Typical paratrooper way.
I forgot.
Major. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to comment real quick on General Williams. I forgot that you had spent time with him up at West Point.
Yes, sir.
I was lucky enough to serve with him twice. Once when he was the G3 there in USHIR, and then my first 2 years in USHIR. This last time he was a CG there.
Yes, sir.
Great guy.
Oh yeah.
I got one of my best interactions with him. So I'm a planner in the G33. He's the G3, and I've just come down on orders. I'm a junior major, waiting to go do my S3 XO time. I had just come down on orders to go to 2CR, and so I got maybe 3 months left before I PCS. And he looks at me, and at the time I'm wearing my 173rd combat patch, and he does the the shoulder lean real quick. So, Chris, you want to be the lead planner for 70th D-Day? I'm like, sir? He's like, yeah, no, we got this guy that's been doing it like for the past 5 years, but we couldn't get him to extend. He's got to go back. He was an ADOS reserve soldier. Okay, sure, sir. And so I pick up the planning for 70th D-Day there. Luckily for my sake, anyways, that guy had done a phenomenal job, which I mean you would tend to expect having done that for 5 straight years. But at some point I had to go brief. I think it was General Campbell was the CG over there at that time. Anyways, so it's me, General Campbell, and General Williams. Again, I'm a junior major in the room with a 1-star and a 3-star, and I'm briefing them, General Campbell, on hey sir, this is what we're gonna do, blah blah blah. I've gone down there and done rehearsals and all this stuff, and the entire time General Williams is sitting to the side of General Campbell just like this, looking at me dead on, just
yeah. No, he is awesome.
Oh yeah,
no doubt about it. I'll put it like this. Cindy and I get to West Point, and my house was ready on day one. So Tim Gooden had actually left. Tim Gooden was the guy I replaced. He was there with Bob Caslin. Both of them guys did a great job. But Tim Gooden left and went to TRADOC to be the TRADOC Sergeant Major, now T2 Comp. Anyway, we moved in on a Friday. General Williams got there that same day, but his quarters was being renovated or something. So they put him in the Beat Navy house, him and Aaron. And so the next day I wake up, I've got all my stuff that showed up Friday, but the backyard, the grass was like knee high. And I'm like, I got to cut this stuff like right off the get-go. So I get out there early Saturday morning, I fire up the lawnmower, and I'm about an hour into it. And my wife comes out I had this big back porch. She's like, hey, I haven't met him yet. I mean, I interviewed with him, but it was VTC. I was in Afghanistan. Anyway, she's like, hey, General Williams is in the living room. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. And I turn off the lawnmower. I walk in. I'm sweaty. He's like, Sergeant Major, let's go to football practice. We jump in his truck. We go up there. Coach Monken's got the boys out there, and we're out there for 3 or 4 hours. And I remember, I'm like, man, this is going to be awesome. Countless stories I could tell you about General Retired Williams. Man, I love him. We got these. I think they still got them. I know they do. But I remember we'd been there about a year or so, and we get these pimped out golf carts. This wasn't some little.
They're still there.
Yeah, these things will hold like eight people or something. And when we first got, we had 2, and they had rims on them, and we put Beat Navy tags on them, all kinds of stuff. Well, General Williams realized that they had these speakers in them, and you could Bluetooth your music, and you could hear them a half a mile away, easy.
What was his favorite song?
So we play everything.
I asked because he figured out we could do the same thing in the COIC, the Combined Ops Intel Center there in Usher. And so he had walk-in music every time he'd come into the cup. Yeah. It was awesome.
I mean, a lot of times the cadets would be in class. I would use mine to, sometimes cadets would have a long ways to go, maybe a mile. And so I would ride around and, hey, you guys need a ride. And it gave them a minute or 2 or whatever of listening to whatever music I was playing. And it saved them a few steps. And I think they appreciated it. But I remember, for the first 2 weeks, I wouldn't play my music loud. The boss did. Yeah, it was fine. I mean, he boomed it. And a lot of times, riding through the quad, cadets are in class. And they could all, I'm telling you, it was loud. And I remember one time I was going through one of the hallways up there or something, and one of the professors, there's always, that 1% that's, he was like, "Hey, Sergeant Major, your music disrupted my class yesterday," or something like that. I'm like, "Well, sir, it wasn't my music." He's like, "Well, I saw you in the golf cart and I could hear it, and it disrupted my class." I said, "Well, it wasn't my music. It was General Williams. Now, if you'd like to, make a complaint, I'll go tell the boss, sir."
I'll give you a ride up there in my golf cart.
Yeah, he didn't go that route.
How many Army Navy games you catch, Sergeant Major? How many did you like? Quite a few, right?
Two. Yeah, two.
Man, I tell you, like when I did that, when I caught that I think I did one when I was there, but what an experience! Like it was one of the most amazing things. Like especially being down there, like we got there early in the day for march on and stuff, but just sitting there and seeing that environment, man, and like seeing the cadets and like seeing the Navy and just everybody that's there. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life.
Yeah,
like, it was awesome.
Yeah, I remember my first year. You got a typically president of the United States. At that time, it was 45 Trump, and the Secretary of War, now Secretary of Defense, and so you get all these big VIPs, and the way the president and the Secretary of War typically do it is, if the president starts out on the Army side, at halftime they'll swap.
Yeah.
And but before the game starts, you have to walk out there with them to do the coin toss. And I'll never forget this, because I didn't feel comfortable, because you had President of the United States, to his left was General Williams, and next it was me. And on the right side of the president, you had Chief of Staff of the Army, it was General Milley, Sergeant Major of the Army, Dan Daly, and I think it was Secretary of the Army, I think it was Esper. I could be wrong. Anyway, we're in this line, and you walk out to a certain point, and what bothered me was like the chief, the secretary, and the SMA, they had to stop. And the president, the superintendent, and myself, we went forward a little bit more. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's not right, but we're out there, and it's cold, and I didn't have my phone on me. I left it on the sideline. I wasn't even thinking like this, you're on TV or none of that shit. But I bet I had 2,000-3,000 texts by the time I got back to my phone. They're like, "Man, look at Jack Love, from the chicken coops of Alabama to royalty."
I remember that. I remember seeing you on TV.
It was really cool, though. It was, and I'll tell you, certainly not getting into politics and none of that, but because I don't know, I don't like any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Never have. I don't care what side they're on.
Right.
But I'll tell you something that really, really impressed me about President Trump. When you win the Commander-in-Chief trophy, be it Army, Navy, or Air Force, later after, they invite you to the White House. And, we took the whole team out there. You had Coach Monken, you had the athletic director. I don't remember if it was Boo Corrigan. I think it might have been Mike Buddy, but, Boo Corrigan's at NC State now, and Mike Buddy, I think, is at TCU.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we go there. We've got all the football team, and we go inside the Oval Office. First, it was just the coach and the soup and a few of us. Then, but the president was already behind on the timeline, because out in the Rose Garden, there's 30, 40 reporters, a lot of VIPs, and they're going to do the Commander-in-Chief trophy presentation. I knew we were way behind timeline, but as we're standing in the Oval Office, some guy, protocol, somebody's like, trying to get the president's attention. And he nodded, first he nodded. And then, another 5 minutes or so go by, and this guy, the same guy's like, Mr. President, we got to get out to the Rose Garden. And he said, okay, yeah, I got it. He talked for another 5 minutes. And then he said, you know what? I want to bring every football player into the Oval Office. He brings them all in there. All his, team's stressing. Because it's like 90 degrees outside the Rose Garden out there. People are sweating. The whole team comes in there, and he talks to him for another 5 minutes. And then he says, you know what? I think I want to take a picture with each one of these young men. So like a battle drill, somebody's got a camera or a ladder. The ladder goes up. There's a guy up top, and one person at a time, and there's like 60 of them or whatever, goes and stands beside the president. He stays seated at his desk, and they take a picture. And I remember thinking, man, that's really cool, because he didn't have to do that. But I'm thinking now we're done. We're getting ready we're filing out to the Rose Garden. I'm like, well, how are we gonna get these damn photos, right? So the guy that was up top of the ladder, I said, hey, man, sir. I said, I had a card. I never gave them out, but this seemed like a good opportunity. I said, hey, that's my card. You make sure them doggone photos get mailed to me. And he said, oh, okay. I mean, he didn't know who I was, but he thought I was important. About a month later, I get this big old stack of photos, addressed from the, president's office or whatever it said. But the thing that was cool is he wrote a little small something, not the same thing 60 times, but he wrote something to every one of those young men that played, on the Army football team. Yeah. And I said, like, man, all the politics aside, that spoke volumes to me about just a person who cared, Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone. I shouldn't be in here talking about presidents and stuff, but
hey,
yeah,
it was all positive. It was all positive.
Yeah.
I
was impressed.
Right. Jack, so me and Chris got this argument going on about the 173rd and the 82nd, right? So
I'll tell you a story, and I'm not trying to be facetious or whatever the word is either way, because this was pre 9/11.
Okay.
That's important to know. And I used to think this is just what people said. There's actually truth to it. Pre 9/11. Pre 9/11, people, paratroopers in the 82nd that just weren't quite cutting it, maybe not doing things to their full potential, whatever the reason was, they would send them to the 173rd. They really would. That's a no BS. Now, I used to remember thinking, damn, that's Vicenza, Italy.
Yeah.
Now but that changed on 9/11. That changed because everybody. I mean, 173rd's always been the same deployability. She got 18-hour sequence. You got all that. It's just a brigade versus a division, and so their capabilities of what they could do was limited, but they were also in a region where they could get to some places much quicker than the 82nd or anybody else. But pre 9/11, 173rd was the B team.
I don't know, but like Chris, you had three Medal of Honor winners in your battalion, I think, during Afghanistan or something like that. I don't know.
Medal of Honor recipients.
Recipients. Yeah.
You don't win it, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. My bad. Yeah.
No, hey, I'll tell you, my mentor, and I've had many, but one that really I connected with as a young Sergeant E5, even a few more years as a staff sergeant, and even as platoon sergeant was Command Sergeant Major retired Earl Rice.
Yeah.
And Earl Rice was the first Command Sergeant Major of 2503rd when they stood that 2nd Battalion up in Vicenza.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and I tell you, there's none better, none in my view than Earl Rice, and so everybody has typically, I don't know, 5 or so people in your life as a service member that you want to do everything you can to somewhat emulate, try to do it the way they would do it, or not let them down, and all those things. And Earl Rice was always that guy for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And I too was in the 2nd and 503rd, sir.
The Rock. Yes.
The Rock.
The Rock. I would tell you though, I think I said this on a video before though, Jack.
Now it was in Korea.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was in 1st of 506 in Korea. So.
Okay, I was 1st 503rd.
Yep.
I would tell you, Jack. I don't remember.
Oh, 1st and 503rd. Sorry, that's 1st
Yeah.
Rock. That's 1st Rock. But we are the Rock.
Okay.
The Rock.
Same stuff, ain't it?
What's that?
Paratrooper.
I'm kidding. No.
I mean, you used to tell us, Jack, like, when the paratrooper world was great, but like when you told us that one time to get out and see the Army, like me and Chris, when we got to 10th Mountain Division, man, like there was so much negativity towards it. People said it's cold, it's all this, man, but like it's a damn good division. Like
Yeah.
And when you said, "Hey, go see the Army," I took that. I was like, "Yeah, everybody should go out. No, you don't have to spend the whole time as a paratrooper. Go out and see what else is out there. Like, there's
it's a big Army, and everywhere you go, there's great people, great missions. But I'll tell you, today I went to the Planet Fitness. Today was just my 5 mile. I ran 5 miles, and as I got on the treadmill, there's 2 older gentlemen right next to me. Now, and I'd seen them in there for 4 or 5 months, but they had never spoke to me. I had never spoke to them. And I put on, my iPods or whatever you call them. I just want to do what I got to do and get the hell out of there. But this time, one of the gentlemen that I did know walked over. His name's Mike. Mike's a good man. And Mike's wanted to introduce me. So I'm just starting. So now I got to slow it down, take off my headphones. And Mike's introduced me to these 2 other guys. He said, "Hey, they used to both be in the Army. I think they only did 2, 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably 70 or something like that." And the one guy's like, "Well, how long did you stay?" And I was like, 37 years. He's like, "What?" So I had to say it again because I don't think he believed me or something. I said, "Oh, yes, sir, 37 years." He's like, "Oh my!" And I had a 82nd hat or shirt or something on, and the guy said he was the 12 Bravo, just basically Fort Sill, Oklahoma or wherever. Served his time out in Florida or whatever. So he was giving me the quick story. But I bring all this up because you mentioned paratrooper and being on airborne status. He saw the shirt or whatever, and he said, "I got to ask you a question." And, you get this from civilians sometimes, but he's like, why in the world would you jump out of a perfectly good airplane?
Yeah.
And the first thing I said was, back then it was $90 extra a month. Now it's $150.
Yeah.
And they laughed. I said, let me give you a more serious answer. And I believe this in my heart. And I equate an airborne unit, I think, very, very similar in terms of the Ranger Regiment. And all divisions are great. I know that. I've seen it. And none's better than the other. There's not. They have different missions. But the difference, and I'll just say the 82nd, you could say 11th Airborne, or you could say 173rd, is the people that are there want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really do. There was I don't know if this is still true today, but I know it was true for my first 20 years in the military. If the Army said, "Love, you're being assigned to 82nd," as an example, I had to circle yes or no. And if I circled no, there was really no harm, no foul. They didn't question it. They assigned you somewhere else. But if you said yes, then you sort of already had buy-in before Love ever got there.
Yes.
So when things were really bad or really hard, or really, sucked, deep down, you wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And so I think you get, it's not any better quality of people. There's great people in the 7th Infantry Division, great people, some warriors. But I think cumulatively, everybody wants to be there. They want to do hard things. They want shared hardships. I don't know. It's a little more camaraderie, little.
Yep.
I think it's a little more focused too, right? Like the younger paratroopers, man, like traditionally, like you said, nothing against the other divisions, but like you just follow your team leader around, you jump in a vehicle, you go, but like in the 82nd, you pay attention a little bit more to the op order. Like you pay attention a little bit more to the details.
Well,
because you could be on the ground, 2 PFCs roaming around, right? So
young corporals or young, buck sergeants can oftentimes find themselves as primary or primary jump masters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then it's a culture. I mean, it is the one thing I give credit to every 82nd Airborne Division commander that's ever served there, certainly during my time and even beyond. I know right now, Major General Tegmeyer, Pat worked before him, Chris Leneve, I believe. I think as far back as you go, division commanders there, for whatever reason, really understood how important it was to empower non-commissioned officers. I'm not saying that they don't everywhere else, because I think most places they do, but I think sometimes it's a little different. And I think it comes back to the airborne mission. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I think NCOs always had a little bit more of a voice, maybe a little bit more arrogant at times, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but you don't necessarily get that in every division, unless you work on it.
Yeah. I take pride in knowing that I was a Marine, a paratrooper, and a mountain soldier. So it's good to go.
Absolutely. I take pride in every place I've ever served. I wouldn't trade those places and for nothing. I remember I was coming out of the White Falcons as the CSM. About 6 months prior, the Army comes out with this thing called CSL, which officers have had it for a long time. But Sergeant Majors didn't have this my first year in the White Falcons. And they come out with it, and we're like, oh, man, what is this? You got a rank order and all this stuff. And I had to do both battalion and brigade. And I had only been in the White Falcons about 18 months. And so I did it. A few months later, it comes out, and I was a principal select for 2504. That's where I was going. Yeah. But I had about 4 months before I could go. General Rodriguez was the Force Comm commander, and Darren Bond was the Force Comm sergeant major. And they were both really close and knew Dave Doyle very well. I had the Force Comm sergeant major down at like a team leader, university one time. Anyway, they came to the battalion commander's change of command, and we did it. We went out the same day on Pike Field, and it wasn't often to get a 4-star at a battalion change of command. Yeah. So everybody's a little bit on pins a little bit, but I'll never forget. This was an L-shaped ambush too, I think a little bit, but we're done. The ceremony's over. We're standing there with General Rodriguez and Sergeant Major Bond, and General Rodriguez looks at me and he's like, well, Sergeant Major, what are you doing now or next? And nobody had told me, to be totally honest. The division headquarters was in Afghanistan. I just assumed I would go up to the G3 shop somewhere and do whatever for 4 months. But I didn't want to throw anybody under the bus, so I didn't say all that. I said, sir, you're the Force Com Sergeant Major, Force Com Commander. I'll do whatever you want me to do, which I think was a good answer.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
And he
Usually
said,
is.
yeah, and he said, that's good. You know, General Rod, 6'5" or whatever. He's like, I want you to come up to Force Com and work home station training for me. And so that's what I did for about 4 months.
Oh, wow.
I would fly down to see Sergeant Major Greca at CENTCOM.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Greca and Bond was playing mind games with me because Bond would say, hey, Love, go down to CENTCOM and see Sergeant Major Greca. And I'd be like, well, what's my task and purpose? He's like, just go see him. And I'd get down there, and then Greca would be like, what the hell do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. But I learned a lot from him. But I say all that to tell you, up to this point in time, through battalion CSM, that's all I'd ever done was be in the line. Yeah. And, I mentioned I was a principal select on 2504, but I was an alternate on the brigade list. And it really didn't mean nothing to me because I got 4 months. I'm going to the White Devil. And I was so fired up.
Yeah.
And I know it's because, long story short, one day the Sergeant Major Bond wanted me to reach out to HRC in reference to a few sergeant majors. I had a list. And so I'm talking to this guy. I won't say his name because he still does the same thing now. It's assignments in the command, portion there. But I'm talking to this guy about these sergeant majors or what the Force Com sergeant major wants to do. And throughout this, hour conversation, eventually he's like, hey, what's your name again? And I was like, Sergeant Major Love. And he said, aren't you still in 2nd of 325? And I was like, already you're like senses are going off. I'm like, no, sir, I was until, a couple months ago. I'm getting ready to go to 2504. He knew all that. The next day I was activated for 8th ROTC Brigade on the brigade list. Oh man, I was not happy. I'm telling you, I wasn't suicidal, but I was damn near. You probably didn't know this, but here's what I'll tell you. I get out there, I got the best brigade commander ever. The guy's name's Jack Kelly. He still teaches seminar or pre-command at Leavenworth to this day. He retired in about 2012 or so. I talk to him pretty regular. He would oftentimes give me input on, battalion commanders or sergeant majors or brigade that were coming to the place that I might be in and kind of give me some G2 on them. But anyway, I remember getting there. I think deep in my heart, I still wasn't really happy. I didn't tell the brigade. I didn't tell the brigade commander that. I said, "Hey, sir, I'm all in. I don't know anything about ROTC, but I want to be a good teammate. I want to do good. I want to help these cadets and etc." But it was really about a month later when we had some big conference at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I met a guy named Doug Pallister. And Doug Pallister had 6th ROTC Brigade down in Savannah. And he had been doing it for about a year or so. And Doug, like me, was 11 Bravo. But Doug, prior to taking 6th ROTC Brigade, was the regimental command sergeant major of 75th Ranger Regiment.
Okay.
And that's a big deal. And he set me down and he said, Jack, this is going to be the best assignment you've ever had. Mm-hmm. He said, it is for me. He said, when he first, knew he was going to Savannah, ROTC, all of his buddies were like, oh, damn, Doug, man, so sorry. And he was like, this has been the best job ever. And it was. But one, I had a great brigade commander that really understood leader development. He was an ROTC, through the pipe, or a West Point through the pipeline. But he knew how to really connect with ROTC cadets. And And I saw more in that 29 months than I had seen my whole life. I visited probably about 100 colleges. And a lot of times I'd be at like, some of them colleges out in California, like Berkeley. And I'd be like,
yeah,
or UC Davis or one of those.
Great. But,
yeah,
in my mind, I'm thinking, man, they got my country ass out here in Berkeley talking about leadership.
yeah.
But it was awesome. I wouldn't trade that experience for nothing.
I miss it.
Awesome.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
Days. All right, Jack. I think we've been on here for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I gotta get
scream at me a little bit. So
well, listen, I'll sort of end where I started. First, thanks to both of you for your service. Sir, I know you're still doing it for a few more months, but thanks to both of you for what you do for our nation, for our Army, and equally important, thanks for what you do as you take on this whole podcast thing, because it really is, as Jeremy spoke about, is how do you connect those currently serving, those that may have retired, or and then all across the United States doing whatever they're doing these days, but a chance just to get on here and just have a conversation, BS, and General LeCamber used to say, you got to be careful when telling war stories, though.
Yeah.
There's nothing like eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, thanks a lot for having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Jack. Thank you for coming on. I know, I mean, we're like you said, we're still working through our kinks and trying to get this together, but starting this off, eventually we'll get to the recorded side of the house. We're still doing the live stuff, but
yeah,
we appreciate you coming on and just jumping on here, talking to us, and giving us some mentorship and giving us some guidance and some stories. And so
thank y'all, sir. Thanks a lot. And all the best as you take on this transition that's probably quickly approaching. Don't ask Jerry for any advice.
No, don't.
I'm kidding.
No, I am the wrong person.
Are you kidding? I was going to do exactly what he told me to do.
Come on. I can't give you much.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, I just want to say from my side, having listened to you talk with Doc on G White Goons, shout out to them. Anybody that's listening out there, if you haven't checked out G White Goons, please do. Give them a listen on YouTube, Spotify, all those places. Anybody that finds us real quick, YouTube, Spotify, you can download us and listen to us there. But Jack, I haven't listened to you twice now. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I want to try to get you on here again in the future. Maybe a few months, year down the road, once you've completed that transition and you're now into something else, to maybe get you on and talk a little bit more leadership lessons, and then how you've actually managed that transition, right? Going from having done something for 37 years, literally your entire adult life, to now doing something else. And quite frankly, I just love listening to you talk and love listening to the leadership lessons. So thank you for your service, and thank you for coming on and talking with us.
Airborne, sir. God bless both of you and your family.
I got one thing to say though, Jack.
Yeah, hey,
I want to speak for everybody though. So I truly appreciate the mentorship you gave me for my whole. It seems like 30 years, right? But I appreciate everything you've done for me in my career to get me where I'm at, to push me along, to kick me in the butt, to give me some trying to help me develop a little bit, stay on track. And, there's a lot of guys on here that are going to listen to this that probably say the same thing. So I'm speaking for them and saying thank you for everything you did to all the White Falcons, all the paratroopers, everybody that you served with. I can only speak from the battalion down on that, but for our guys that I know we're pretty close with, they want to get on here and talk to Jack too. So thank you for that and appreciate it. And then we'll talk to you later in the future.
Everyone, my friends. God bless y'all. Okay.
Ooh.
Hey, I quit dipping just so